It was the holiday season again, and as always, my family had been gearing up for what was sure to be another chaotic but heartwarming Christmas gathering. Growing up, the holidays had always been about family, noise, and the messiness that comes with a house full of kids. For as long as I could remember, Christmas at my parents' house was the highlight of the year. Decorating the tree, the smells of my mom's famous Christmas dinner filling the house, and the laughter of my nieces and nephews running around. Full of excitement, I'd been looking forward to it all month. I already had the perfect gift for my parents, a nice, framed family portrait that would mean a lot to them, and I'd been planning the outfits for the kids for weeks. There was something about how my mom would always fuss over the little things, making sure everything looked perfect, that made it feel like the holidays had truly arrived. This year would be no different, or so I thought. But then, one evening, I received a text from my mom that threw everything off track. It wasn't the usual excitement-filled holiday message I was expecting. It was brief, direct, and, to be honest, a little bit shocking. "Hey, sweetie, just wanted to let you know that we're keeping it small this year. No grandkids for Christmas. Just the adults, please." At first, I thought it was a mistake, some typo or miscommunication. No grandkids? My mind couldn't wrap around it. My sister's kids, my own kids, all of them were part of the heart and soul of the family gathering. Christmas without them was unthinkable. The house would feel empty, quiet, almost cold. I sat there, staring at the text, my mind racing. I quickly shot a reply. "What do you mean? No grandkids? Is something wrong? Why?" The response was calm, almost too calm. "It's just too much this year. We've decided it's best to focus on adult time, without all the chaos. No grandkids this year. It's just what we've decided, hon." There it was. No grandkids. No exceptions. I stared at the screen, my heart sinking. I wanted to argue, but what could I say? It wasn't like I could fight against their decision. I was an adult. I didn't need to be part of every holiday, and maybe they just wanted some peace for once. But then, I couldn't help but wonder, was there more to this decision than they were letting on? I needed to talk to my sister about this. After all, we were supposed to be in this together. My sister and I had always shared the same Christmas traditions. The kids, her three and my two, had grown up together, and the thought of them not being there felt so wronged. I called her. The phone rang a couple of times before she picked up, and when she did, I could hear the excitement in her voice. "Hey, you ready for the holidays?" I hesitated. "Actually, I wanted to ask you about Mom's text. Did you get one too?" She paused, a slight shift in her tone. "Yeah, I saw it. I don't know what that's about. I figured it was just some weird phase. Maybe they just want some time to themselves this year? Who knows?" I felt a little better hearing her response. It didn't seem like she was in on some big secret, but still, something didn't sit right with me. Why only our kids being excluded? I wasn't the only one with children. My sister had three kids, and they were just as much a part of the family as mine were. "So, are you still going?" I asked. She hesitated. "Of course. It's Mom and Dad. I'll go. Besides, it's been a while since we had a quiet Christmas. I'm sure it'll be fine." That sounded fair enough. But would it really be fine? Would it really feel like Christmas without the noise of the little ones? Without the chaos and laughter that had been a part of the holiday for as long as I could remember? The days leading up to Christmas felt like they were dragging on. I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling I had about the whole situation. My mind kept racing. Why had my parents decided to make this change? What was the real reason behind it? Maybe they were just tired. After all, we'd all been through a lot that year. The pandemic had been rough on everyone, and I figured they might want to keep things simple, to enjoy a quieter holiday. But still, it didn't feel right. I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling in my gut. So, despite everything telling me to let it go and just enjoy the holiday, I decided to show up anyway. I'd go and see for myself. It wasn't going to hurt to drop by and see how it felt. Maybe my concerns were overblown. Maybe my parents were just testing the waters and would realize how important the kids were to the holiday spirit. When Christmas Eve finally arrived, I packed up my gifts for my parents and kids and headed over to their house. I kept telling myself it was going to be fine, that I'd walk in, drop off my gifts, say my hellos, and everything would be normal as I turned down the street toward my parents' house. I noticed the lights twinkling through the windows, and I could already smell the delicious scent of my mom's cooking wafting out the door. My heart lifted just a little. It felt like the holidays were finally here. But when I stepped inside, something immediately caught my attention. There, running around like they owned the place, were my sister's three kids, laughing, playing, and causing the usual commotion that came with children. The little ones were zooming past me, almost knocking over a stack of Christmas cards my mom had set up on the counter. I froze, my hand still on the door. My mind couldn't process what I was seeing. And oh, grandkids. I had been told, flat out, no grandkids this year. But here they were, all three of my sister's children, tearing through the house with the same excitement they always had. I turned to my mom, who was in the kitchen stirring a pot of something that smelled like it would be delicious. Mom, I asked, my voice shaking slightly, what's going on? I thought you said no grandkids this year? She smiled at me warmly, as if nothing was wrong. Oh, it's okay, honey. They're the exception. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. The exception? I repeated, almost laughing in disbelief. What do you mean, the exception? My mom didn't seem to notice the edge in my voice as she casually waved me off. Well, you know, they're family, and they've been so good this year. We thought they deserved to be here. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was this some sort of joke? A good behavior exception? My kids, who had been just as excited for the holidays, were left out, while my sister's kids got to run wild in the house. This wasn't just unfair. It felt like a slap in the face. Just then, my sister walked over, beaming as she grabbed a glass of wine from the counter. Hey, you made it, she said, her voice too cheerful, like she didn't notice anything was off. Come on in. It's so nice to have a quieter Christmas this year, right? I forced a smile, trying to mask the frustration bubbling inside me. Yeah, it's great. I glanced at her kids, who were still racing around the living room, laughing and jumping on the furniture. And then, my sister dropped the bombshell. You know, they were the exception. Mom and Dad made an exception for us this year. We just thought it'd be nice to have a little extra cheer in the house. You know how they get with the grandkids. She shrugged as if it were nothing. As if her kids running amok, despite the rules, were perfectly fine and understandable. I felt the tension in my chest rise, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to ruin the holiday for everyone else, but deep down, I felt betrayed. I had been excluded for no reason other than my own kids weren't the exception. It was hard to swallow, harder than I had expected. I stood there in the living room, surrounded by the chaos of my sister's kids, trying to wrap my mind around what was happening. The house felt like it was closing in on me. The sound of children's laughter suddenly too loud, too overwhelming. I looked over at my parents, who were happily chatting with my sister, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. It was like I was invisible, standing on the outskirts of the family gathering, unable to fit in with the new reality they'd created. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool, but every second felt like a ticking time bomb. I walked over to the table and put down the gifts I had brought for everyone. My heart wasn't in it anymore, but I didn't want to look like the troublemaker. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I knew that would only make things worse. I wasn't about to let them ruin my entire holiday, even if they had already ruined it in my eyes. As I turned to leave the room, my sister's voice stopped me in my tracks. Hey, why don't you sit down? It's been so long since we've had a chance to catch up. Her tone was too sweet, too forced. I could see the smug little smirk on her face, like she knew exactly how I felt, and it only made my blood boil. I think I'll pass, I said quietly, my voice cold. I'm just not in the mood. I turned to walk away, but my sister wasn't about to let it go. She followed me into the hallway, her voice sharp now. Come on, seriously. What's your problem? You know Mom and Dad are just trying to make the best of things. Don't be so dramatic. The word stung. Dramatic? I repeated, turning back to face her. You think I'm being dramatic? How do you explain your kids running around, breaking every rule Mom and Dad set, while my kids are left at home because they don't get an exception? She blinked, taken aback by the sudden shift in my tone. It's not like that, okay? They just decided this year to, I don't know, change things up. Don't make this more than it is. No, I said, my voice rising now. It's exactly what it is. You're special. Your kids are special. They get to play, while mine are at home, excluded from everything. The tension was thick in the air now, and the sound of the kids' laughter faded into the background. My mom appeared in the hallway, hearing the raised voices, her face a mix of confusion and concern. "What's going on?" she asked, trying to play the peacemaker, but I wasn't having it. "No, Mom. Tell me why your grandkids are allowed here, but mine aren't. What changed?" I demanded, my heart racing. Why Mom looked startled, clearly not expecting this confrontation. "It's just, we decided to keep it simple this year," she said hesitantly, glancing between me and my sister. "We thought it'd be better for everyone." "Better for everyone?" I snapped. "Except for my kids, I guess." It was like a switch had been flipped. My sister's face twisted in frustration. "This isn't about you or your kids. Why do you have to make everything about you?" she shot back. "Mom and Dad made their choice, and we're just going along with it. If you can't handle that, maybe you should leave." Her words hit me like a slap. I could feel my chest tighten, my temper flaring. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I wasn't supposed to be the one in the wrong here. I wasn't the one who'd been given the cold shoulder. But in that moment, it felt like I was the villain, the one causing trouble. "You know what?" I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I will leave. Since apparently, I'm the problem here." I grabbed my coat off the hook by the door and started walking toward the exit, but my mom quickly reached out and grabbed my arm. "Wait, honey, don't go. This is all just a misunderstanding," she pleaded. I yanked my arm away, unable to control my emotions anymore. "No, it's not a misunderstanding. It's a betrayal. You made a choice, and I'm not part of it." My voice was breaking now, and I could feel the sting of tears threatening to spill. But I held it together. Just barely did I turn to face my sister, who was standing there with her arms crossed, smirking like she'd won some kind of victory. "Enjoy your exception," I said coldly. "I'm out." Without another word, I stepped out of the house, slamming the door behind me. I didn't care about the gifts. I didn't care about the dinner. I didn't care about the holiday. All I could think about was the way my parents had treated me, how they had chosen her over me, over my kids. As I walked away from my parents' house, the cold wind cutting through my coat, I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me: anger, hurt, confusion. My hands were clenched into fists by my sides, my mind racing, replaying everything over and over again. How could they have done this? How could they have made me feel so small, so unimportant? The street was empty, and the only sound was the crunch of snow under my boots. The silence felt deafening. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out to see a text from my mom. "Honey, please come back. Let's talk." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Talk? What was there to talk about? They had made their decision, and they had made it clear that my kids weren't part of it. The text felt hollow, like an afterthought. I wasn't sure what I was expecting. Maybe an apology, maybe an explanation. But it was just more of the same. I didn't respond. I couldn't bring myself to that. I made my way back to my car, every step feeling heavier than the last. I could still hear my sister's voice echoing in my head, calling me dramatic, telling me I was making a big deal out of nothing. It was like she didn't even understand how hurtful this was. Or maybe she just didn't care that I reached my car, slamming the door behind me, feeling like I needed to physically separate myself from the situation. The engine roared to life, but instead of driving away, I just sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel tightly. My hands were shaking now, and I could feel the sting of tears behind my eyes. I wasn't one to cry easily, but everything about tonight had been wrong. From the moment I walked in and saw my sister's kids running around to my mom's dismissive excuse, it had all felt like a slap in the face. As I pulled away from the curb, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from my sister. "You need to get over yourself. It's just Christmas. Get some perspective. If you're going to be this upset about it, maybe it's better you don't come around anymore." Her words were like daggers. It was almost laughable, how quickly she could turn it around and make me the villain. Like I was the one being unreasonable. Like I was the one who had hurt her. But I wasn't about to let her twist this. I wasn't about to let her make me feel guilty for standing up for my kids. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on the road, my hands gripping the wheel even tighter. My mind was spinning, and I couldn't stop the thoughts from racing. How had things gotten so bad between us? We had always been close, me and my sister. Or at least, I had thought we were. But now, everything felt shattered. I turned the corner onto my street, and my house came into view. It looked warm, welcoming, nothing like the cold, distant place I had just left. The contrast was sharp, and it made everything feel more final. I parked the car and sat there for a moment, taking in the familiar sight of my home. It was supposed to be a place of comfort, a place where I could escape from all the chaos, but now it felt like the only place where I could truly be myself. Angry, hurt, confused that I grabbed my things and made my way inside, the door shutting behind me with a soft click. The quiet of my home was almost soothing, but it didn't change the weight in my chest. I walked into the living room and collapsed onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. I felt my phone buzz again. Another message from my sister. I hope you realize how much this is affecting everyone. You've made things so awkward. Do you really want to ruin Christmas for everyone? I almost laughed bitterly. She still didn't get it, did she? This wasn't about ruining Christmas. It was about the fact that my family had broken something that had always been so important to me. The one time I needed them to have my back, to stand up for my kids, they turned their backs on me. The longer I sat there, the more I could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on me. My phone buzzed again, but I didn't even need to check it anymore. I knew it was probably another message from my sister, trying to twist the narrative further, to paint me as the bad guy. The silence in my home felt like a reflection of my thoughts. Empty, disconnected, full of unanswered questions. I leaned back on the couch, trying to steady my breath, to calm the storm inside me. But it wasn't working. No matter how hard I tried to push it down, the anger, the hurt, the feeling of betrayal kept bubbling to the surface. I knew I needed to talk to someone, to get this out of my system before it consumed me completely. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts. My best friend, Jess, was the first person I thought of. She always knew what to say, always had a way of making everything seem less overwhelming. I dialed her number and waited, tapping my fingers impatiently on the armrest. When she answered, her voice was a lifeline in the midst of my chaos. "Hey, what's up? You sound off," she said, instantly picking up on my tone. I I don't even know where to begin," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I went to my parents' house for Christmas, right? And everything was fine at first. But then I saw my sister's kids running around, playing like nothing was wrong. And my parents, they just let it happen. They made an exception for her kids, but not mine. My voice cracked, and I had to stop myself. The tears that I had been holding back all night finally spilled over, and I didn't try to stop them anymore. They didn't even care. They didn't even notice how hurt I was. It was like they had already made their choice, and I wasn't part of it. There was a pause on the other end of the line before Jess spoke, her voice soft but firm. "That's messed up. You know that, right?" "I know," I whispered, feeling the weight of her words. "But it doesn't make sense. Why would they do that? Why would they choose her kids over mine?" "I don't know," she said, her tone thoughtful. "But I think they might have forgotten what family is really about. It sounds like they've been giving your sister's kids special treatment for so long. They don't even see how wrong it is anymore. Maybe they don't even realize what they're doing to you." Her words hit me harder than I expected. Maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe they hadn't meant to make me feel like this. But that didn't make it hurt any less. "But it's not just about the kids, is it?" Jess continued. "It's about how they treated you, how they made you feel like you didn't matter, like you didn't belong in your own family." I let out a shaky breath. "Exactly. I feel like I'm being pushed out, like I'm no longer included." Jess was quiet for a moment. "I get it. But listen, what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to let them get away with this? Or are you going to stand up for yourself and your kids?" The question hit me like a punch to the gut. What was I going to do about it? Could I just let it slide? Could I let this go and pretend everything was fine when I knew it wasn't? "I don't know," I said quietly. "I don't want to cause a scene, but I also don't want to let them think this is okay." "You don't have to let them walk all over you. Jess said, her voice steady and reassuring. You have every right to stand up for yourself. And your kids? They deserve better than to be treated like they're invisible. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I felt a surge of determination start to rise in my chest. Maybe it was time to stop pretending that everything was fine. Maybe it was time to demand the respect I deserved. But what if it makes everything worse? I asked, my doubt creeping back in. What if they turn on me? What if I lose them forever? You won't lose them, Jess said confidently. But if they're going to treat you like this, maybe it's better that you stand up now, before it gets any worse. You can't keep letting them get away with it. They need to understand that you're not going to take this lying down. Her words sank in deep, settling in my chest. I didn't want to lose my family, but I also didn't want to keep allowing myself to be treated like I didn't matter. I had to draw a line somewhere. Thanks, Jess, I said, my voice a little stronger now. I needed to hear that. I just, I just don't know where to start. You'll figure it out, she said, her tone full of warmth. Just take it one step at a time. And if you need me, I'm here. I hung up the phone, feeling a little lighter. It wasn't going to be easy, but I knew I couldn't keep letting this slide. Something had to change. The days that followed Christmas were suffocating. Every text from my family felt like a reminder that they hadn't truly understood the gravity of what had happened. My mom sent me one, asking if I was okay, but it felt empty, like she was going through the motions, checking off the mom duties, without actually considering the mess she'd created. I couldn't shake the feeling that my sister had somehow won. Her kids were running around, enjoying the holiday, while my own were left out in the cold, metaphorically speaking. My parents had made it clear where their loyalty lay, and it wasn't with me or my kids. I spent the next few days in a haze of frustration. Every time I thought about confronting my parents, I found myself hesitating, wondering if it would even matter. Could I change anything? Could I ever make them truly see how much they hurt me? Or was this just the way things were going to be from now on? The tension between me and my sister grew. Her messages became more passive-aggressive, like she was trying to manipulate the situation to make me feel guilty for even questioning my parents' actions. She'd send little jabs about how family is supposed to come together, no matter what. But the underlying tone was always the same. I'm in the right, you're in the wrong, that I couldn't stomach it. I couldn't keep playing this game of pretending like everything was fine when I knew it wasn't. So, I called my mom. The conversation was short, tense, and incredibly awkward. Mom, I need to talk about what happened on Christmas, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Oh, honey, please. I really think we should just forget about it, she replied quickly, almost too quickly. It wasn't a big deal. But it was a big deal. I tried to explain, tried to make her see how hurtful it was, but she kept deflecting, brushing it off like it was nothing more than a misunderstanding. At one point, I lost my patience. How can you not see this? How can you act like this doesn't matter? I nearly shouted. My kids deserve to be treated with the same love and respect as my sisters, but you've made it clear that they don't. She didn't respond immediately. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line, and for a brief moment, I thought she might finally understand. But instead, she sighed deeply and said, I'm not going to argue with you about this. It's Christmas. Just let it go. Her words hit me like a slap in the face. Let it go. As if I could just erase what had happened. As if I could pretend everything was fine. I hung up the phone, feeling the finality of the conversation weigh heavily on me. This wasn't just a disagreement anymore. It was a wall. A wall that I couldn't tear down. Not with words, not with reasoning, not with anything. Over the next few weeks, the silence between my family and me grew deafening. My mom continued to text occasionally, but the messages were always surface level, like she was trying to avoid confronting the issue. My dad didn't reach out at all. The anger inside me simmered, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had already lost. Not just the holiday, not just my parents' respect, but my place in the family. The dynamic had shifted permanently, and I didn't know how to get it back. I stopped going to family gatherings. At first, it was just for a couple of weeks, but then it stretched into months. I couldn't bring myself to sit in that house, surrounded by the people who had so easily chosen my sister's kids over mine. And my sister, on the other hand, acted like nothing had changed. She was always posting pictures of her kids, showing them with my parents, as if they were a happy, perfect little family. I could barely bring myself to look at the posts, knowing the truth behind the smiles. And then, it hit me, the hardest truth of all. This wasn't something that could just be fixed with an apology. This wasn't something that could be resolved with a few kind words and a promise to do better next time. It was bigger than that. It was about love, about loyalty, about who mattered and who didn't. And I wasn't sure if I could ever truly forgive them for making me feel like I didn't matter. Months passed. I watched from the sidelines as my family continued on without me, pretending everything was okay. But in my heart, I knew it wasn't. And maybe, just maybe, it never would be again.
After everything that happened, it's hard to say who's truly at fault. The protagonist's feelings were valid. She was hurt and felt dismissed by her parents. But on the other hand, cutting ties completely might have been a step too far. Was it necessary to shut herself off entirely, or could she have handled it differently? It's easy to judge from the outside, but emotions can cloud our decisions. Was she justified, or did she overreact? What do you think? Would you have done the same, or handled it another way?